Good evening, everybody. I want to thank the people that came. I had a book signing party in the Bronx at Rigoletto's restaurant, very famous Italian restaurant, and we had a lot of people from Facebook supported me, and the restaurant was great. They gave us antipasto, pizza, wine, all on the house. They loved the whole idea of the book signing, and it was good. So now let's talk about something good. The United States Supreme Court made a ruling for the First Amendment for a cheerleader that made a remark and got thrown off the team. And they said she had the right to say what she had to say. So that's a positive. Now we got some negative stuff to talk about. I can't believe that Black Lives Matter, BLM, nominated for Nobel Peace Prize. And I got to read this to you. For the way it's called for systemic change has spread around the world. Martin Bellan, The Guardian. I can't believe that they did riots. They destroyed property. And the guy in Norway, who was the head of it, said, well, I guess they had to do that. They had to do that to show their intent. Also, Pramila Jayapal, U.S. representative in Washington. Of course, she handles Seattle. Of course, I don't have to talk about Seattle. We know that it's just chaos there for the last year. The police can't do anything. If they do anything, they get in trouble. And a lot of the cops just quit. They just said, you know what, I don't want to put up with this garbage. She says that anybody that is with Trump, that he's starting a confederacy. I don't know where she gets this from. I don't know. Also, auditors are finding a lot of ballots and a lot of misappropriating of items in all the audits they're doing, especially in Arizona. Now, what's happening now is all the states, all these battleground states that normally would have, we're assuming that they would have been voting for Trump, and Biden won. And now they're finding a lot of more discrepancies than they did in the beginning. I don't know why they're finding them now. They couldn't find them then. So I don't know what I hope some of my co-hosts could enlighten me, enlighten the viewers on what can they do with this? Can they overturn it? Can they start? Can they go to the Supreme Court? I mean, there's rumors that in August something's going to happen. It just sounds to me like we're going to have a civil war. Now, right now, we are having a civil war, but it's not with guns, and it's not with rockets, and it's not with bricks or bats. It's with words. It's with legislation. It's with this wokeness. These corporations now, they feel so bad that they have to give away everything to BLM. They have to, hey, Mike, how are you? They have to give. They're giving. I mean, I don't understand. Listen. I grew up in the '70s. All right, and we had our differences and everything, but we were civil about our differences. Nowadays, they're not civil at all. Matter of fact, like the Olympic athlete, she does not want to honor the flag. She wants to turn it back. Now, what happened was this girl, Berry, claims that they set her up. Now, I don't understand how she could be set up when she doesn't want to pledge allegiance to the flag or even turn. She turns her back to the flag, and they were playing the Pledge of Allegiance. She said they set her up. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's absolutely out of mind. Now, what's happening now is a lot of criminals are being arrested for child trafficking all over the country. So the police in these states, they have task force, and God bless them. They are finding these traffickers and they're arresting them. Now, these people go to jail for a long time. Now, keep in mind, rapists, pedophiles, all these people are sick. They're criminals, but they're sick criminals. They have a sickness that they cannot control. And that's the problem. That's why they register these people, and they can't go near schools. They can't go, but they find ways to still attack children. Now, this one guy was a trucker, and what he did was he had this like a contest that you could get a free pass to some of these amusement parks, and he got some young kids in his truck, and he drove them all over the country, had sex with them. And what happens is these kids are so scared that they don't want to say anything to anybody, so they're not going to. They see a cop, they're not going to say anything, and it goes on. And finally, he got caught, and he's looking at least 20 years in jail. He should get more. He should get life. He should get. Never mind what he should get. He should get killed. Now, Antifa and BLM activists were arrested recently for being part of the January 6th riot, or peaceful or not peaceful demonstration that they're blaming everything on Trump. Now, there is some, matter of fact, Joe mentioned this, and you can bring it up later, Joe. They mentioned that some FBI agents were involved, and they might have fomented this problem. And definitely the BLM and Antifa instigated this thing. Now, don't get me wrong. There were some Trump supporters that got a little carried away, okay? I have to admit that. But not to the extent that they say. And they say it wasn't an insurrection. As a matter of fact, these riots in Seattle, these riots in Portland, are more dangerous than what happened in Washington, D.C. More people were hurt. More people were killed. It's crazy. Now, this really pisses me off. Clarence Thomas, who is a Supreme Court judge, who went through a very trying confirmation hearing at his time. He's a conservative. Everybody knows that. And he wrote a book, or a book called Created Equal. And they deplatformed him. They don't want to put that in the radical left is destroying that narrative. That's their narrative. They don't want to see him. I don't understand this culture canceling. Anybody who's conservative is a white supremacist, is a domestic terrorist. Now, BLM is not a domestic terrorist, but anybody who is conservative and anybody who voted for Trump and anybody who goes against their narrative is a bad guy. Now, what I read something that the Pentagon and the head of the military, yeah, God made all men, Sam Cole made them equal. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And don't leave out Smith and Wesson. They did a lot of stuff too. So what they're doing is they're going through the military, taking out anybody who had a Facebook or Twitter statement that would be considered conservative, white supremacist, right wing, anything like that. So what they're doing is what the communists did in Russia with the Bolsheviks. Anybody who was against the Communist Party got in trouble, or got more than trouble. I don't want to go into that, but I don't understand. They're doing all this, and I tell you what I think. I think that they're doing this because they have the power now. They have Congress. They have the Senate with hey, Ellen, how are you? Good to hear you too. They have Anthony Esposito. Oh my goodness, I got everybody watching tonight. Hey, all right. What they're doing is stifling any kind of dissension, any kind of discussion. I remember I was talking about the 70s. We had arguments with liberals and conservatives, and they were friendly. They shook hands. All right, hey, you got your ideas. I have my ideas. And let's have a beer, have a drink. They don't do that anymore. Now it's the hate is so. By the way, when Trump won against Hillary, you saw the looks on the people that were pro Hillary. They were going crazy, almost having like a nervous breakdown. And that carried over during his whole administration. They did everything they could to hurt him. I mean, hurt him not physically, but hurt him politically, socially, or whatever. And they didn't care if he did a good job or not. Now, I brings me up to Biden. Biden is undoing the good things that Trump did. Now, I don't care if you like Trump or don't like him. It doesn't matter. You have to admit that some of the things he did were good, especially look at the border right now. He had it under control. He had a steady flow of people coming in. People are waiting for their amnesty. Hi, Anthony. The people that are waiting for to be documented, waiting in Mexico. Everything was fine. They didn't have the big caravans coming in because they knew they couldn't make it through. But guess what? He opened the borders. Now they're all coming in. They can't handle it. My nephew is a border agent. He says it's chaotic. They can't. Do you realize how many criminals have been coming in? The other day they found that they can't have a really good statistic because so many of them are slipping through. Drug dealers, cartel members, traffickers, the human traffic, the coyotes. It's open. It's like an open market for them. And whatever they're catching, many are getting through. And he doesn't want, listen, any president, the worst president we ever had, besides Obama and our guy now, went to places where there was some crisis, a hurricane, flooding. They would go there and, at least do at least go there and show your face. They have not done it. Kamala was supposed to do it, and she went 800 miles in El Paso. It's not the real border problem. I mean, she just did a photo op, and it was not that good. Okay, so what is going on here? It's also Biden also rescinded another executive action of Trump I forgot what it was, with sexual predators. He rescinded that. Okay. Everything that Trump has done. Now the pipeline, he stopped the pipeline. Now everybody is complaining about gas. Gas is going up. Now, let me ask you something. Whoever's listening to this, and I want everybody to chime in. I don't care. What keeps the country moving? Trucks. They deliver food. They deliver items. They deliver for Amazon. They deliver for everybody. But they need gasoline. And if a truck has to spend more money for gasoline, what are they going to do? They're going to raise their prices. They raise their prices, then what happens? Everybody raises their prices. And America runs on cheap, readily available fuel. We had that. We were energy, we're independent of energy. Matter of fact, we have more oil in the United States than any place in the world. We could give it out. We could sell it. No, now we have to get it from other sources. And Biden allowed the Russians to do their pipeline without the restrictions or sanctions into Germany. All right, listen. I'm getting a little crazy. Okay, so let's bring on Stacey Pressman. She is the Libertarian candidate for the mayor of New York City, and we're gonna hopefully listen to what she has to say, and I'm sure what she has to say is going to be really good. All right, Stacey.
Hey, Vinny. Good evening. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you.
Thank you so much.
So tell us what your platform is. Tell us what you're going to do for New York City.
Well, first of all, I'm really excited to be running for mayor. I'm going to be on the ballot November 2nd. And I have a lot of big plans for New York. I want to democratize education. I want to have people be able to choose the schools they want to go to, schools that make them want to learn, excite them. I want to create a feeling of learning, not incarceration. Or schools particularly high schools, feel like prisons nowadays. I want people to be able to choose how they learn. I want to have people vote on who runs their schools as well, which hasn't been done. I want to take the power out of the office of the mayor.
What do you think of the charter schools?
Some of them are great. I mean, I believe there's different types of schools. for different types of needs. I think each student learns differently, Vinny. And I think we need to really let teachers teach, because teachers are actually artists in their own way. They know how to get through their students. A good teacher can get through to students in different ways. So I think we need to let teachers, but there's a lot of bureaucracies in schools, and we need to have them teach, not be involved in the bureaucracy.
Is that why the parents like charter schools, because it's less bureaucratic?
I think
That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
I think they're ran sometimes better. Parents have different. The schools I've been in, because I do speaking in schools over the years, I find them more organized or smaller. I think they get a bit. If you get a private school education and a public school atmosphere.
The kids in charter schools have better grades, have better test scores than the other kids.
It depends on the school, right? It depends on the family, right?
Kids are learning better. They're learning better.
Every school, I think they're smaller, more concentrated. They're ran sort of like private schools, the way they feel like
private schools. Yeah, that's why the city is not crazy about them, because they've less.
They can't control them. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We're on the same page right now.
I believe in choice. I believe that education is very personal, and I think that people learn so differently that we need to really address that. And it's not one size fits all. And from my experience, there's so many better ways to educate our young people nowadays. And we're failing our young people.
And when you went to school, did you go to private, like grammar school?
I went to John Dewey High School in Brooklyn, which was an experimental school, similar to a charter school in a way, but very large and very diverse. I actually went to a very crazy junior high school. I went to junior high school 303 in Coney Island. So I come from real Brooklyn, South Brooklyn, and
you don't have a Brooklyn accent.
I do, but it comes out when I drink or get angry. So
yeah, well, I went to Catholic school. Now, in Catholic school is a whole different ball game. There, you have to learn, because they teach. They're tough. I went to one school with brothers, and if you got out of line, they hit you.
Well, I don't believe in capital punishment, but
no, but
well, a lot of people are sending nowadays people are sending their children to private schools. Even like Jewish families are sending their kids to Catholic schools instead of their local high schools. Yeah.
So it was rough when you're sharing lunch with a Jewish kid, that if you got a brajol that's made out of pork, you can't share with them.
Right. That's funny.
But we liked them. We treated them good. We didn't treat them bad,
Oh, that's
all right. It's your turn to talk, not mine. Don't
sure.
mind me.
I have a lot of policy. So that's one of my policies that I'm proud of. I want to emphasize in our city public safety, create a better relationship between the communities and the police officers. I don't think we should over police. I think that we need to restructure how we do policing. De-escalation is very important. Creating trust among communities. Create, tough on violent crimes, fair on other crimes. That's one of my other policies.
Wait, you say other crime. What about the criminal program of broken windows? You know what that's?
I'm not familiar with that. I'm sorry.
Okay, what that is, Bill Bratton brought that in with Giuliani. If you have broken windows in a house, it's a metaphor for low crime. The low crime becomes bigger crime. So what happens is, especially in the Bronx, where I grew up in the Bronx, if you saw a building that had some broken windows, that would be
you have a bad landlord.
No. Sometimes there's bad people, and they go in there and smoke crack. They sell drugs because it's broken window. Like, nobody gives a shit about the building. That's the idea. So what happens is they'll smoke pot in front of there. They'll drink. They'll hang out and do bad things. And what happens is, if you stop that, you have a better. For example, you don't have broken windows in Bronxville. Or in Upper East Side or Upper West Side, these are nice neighborhoods. That you don't have people there
Well,
breaking.
that's a poverty issue. I mean, my landlord didn't fix my mother's window. We have a broken window. It's a poverty issue. My mother's.
Well, it's not about really a broken window. It's the idea that if you have broken windows that are not fixed, that
Right.
it's going to cause more crime. Okay.
Well,
And,
I don't 100% agree with that, but
Well, what about stop and frisk? Are you against
I
that?
don't believe in that at all. I think that that's over policing. I don't think that helped stop. It didn't help back in the
It took
day.
a lot of guns off the street. A lot of guns off the street.
But
See,
how
the
do you pick
problem
who
is
you're
to have
stopping frisking?
What that?
How do you choose who you're stopping frisking?
Okay, here's the way it's supposed to be done. You stop someone and say, "Hi, are you carrying a weapon?" And no, okay. Would you mind if I search you? If he says no, then you don't search him. But what happens is a lot of people of color complain that why are you stopping me because I'm black or I'm Spanish, and because the blacks and the Spanish in that neighborhood are carrying guns. They took so many guns off the street. Now, anti-crime is another aspect of policing. What they do is they drive around unmarked cars, plain clothes, and they're usually pretty smart cops. And they see something that they know is bad. They'll get out of the car and confront it. Now, there have been instances where they've confronted people and they were wrong. Sometimes the cops are wrong, and I'm pro cop, but I'm also very honest about it. Sometimes, and all I got to say is, look, I'm really sorry, sir. We're doing our job. We have a reasonable expectation, and now if you get a person,
I've been stopped and frisked, and I don't have a gun.
Yeah, but I'm going to say something. Was it a male that stopped and frisked you?
Well, I'm saying it's civil. I mean, I am not defund the police at all. I think we need to restructure how policing is done. We have technologies to avoid situations like that. I believe in the 2A amendment and have your legal gun carrier. That's the other thing. So I believe that we need to be mindful of how we do that.
By the way, do you realize that cities that have carry and concealed carry or even open carry, they have the lowest crime rates?
Yes, I'm very aware of that.
Because you try to rob somebody as a gun, you might get shot if you have, so you hear stories like that, but the mainstream media doesn't put that out. They never put out that a legal gun owner stopped a crime or shot somebody legally who was threatening their lives or threatening their, whatever. And they don't tell you about that because if anyone have any questions of Stacy, please let us know. We'll have Stacy answer them.
I think we need to learn to de-escalate rather than escalate. And that's the big issue.
I think
we need to bring, I believe, a whole mental health division because a lot of crime, specifically not organized or gang or organized crime, but these random acts of violence are coming from people with drug addictions or they're coming from mental health breakdowns of some sort. So it's stemming from a mental health breakdown. And once we get a hold of that, I think that will take away a lot of the fears. The people in the subways that are just going mad because they're having a mental health crisis, that needs to be addressed. And that is a very big problem. That's what's happening in these random crimes. Domestic violence, a mental health issue.
In the 70s, I worked for the state health department, the medical board. And at that time, I forgot it was Governor Carey, I forgot who it was, let all people out of the mental hospitals. They put them out on the street. And that's where we have these homeless. Some of these homeless people have been on the street for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I know. And
it's a mental health. They're not criminals, but they do criminal acts because they act out.
Right. So we need to address we've allowed them to not get the help they needed. And we've normalized homelessness, especially during this pandemic. It's not a normal way of life in New York City. We've just been like, oh, that homeless man or that, crazy person.
Any homeless people?
Yes, quite often.
Okay.
I go around often.
What if they tell you when you want to put them in the shelter? They don't want to go in the
And
shelter.
no one, a shelter that's a Band-Aid to a problem. It doesn't help. They're not safe. We need to get permanent housing. I propose we have to rezone the city. The city zoning is antiquated, and we have issues with zoning that are actually systemically bad that have been around for 50, 60 years that are systemically bad for both climate change and racial issues. So what we need to do is start building. You can use 3D housing. NYCHA could be rent to own. We don't have to have the city funding it anymore. We can actually create a system where people can rent to own so they care about their properties, and the city's not just funding these horrible situations that they're putting people in. We're not being innovative in the way we treat lower income families and whatnot. So we need people to be in stable housing.
I got a question for you. A good friend of mine owns 70 buildings in New York City, mostly in the Bronx. He bought the buildings from the city, so he manages the buildings. Okay. He complains. He's a very articulate and very intelligent and very honest man. The city mandates certain ways because they have a lot of Section 8 in there, so they have to tell them what to do. Sometimes they tell them, "Oh, you have to take money from me." He says, "I don't need money I have enough money in my bank account. I don't need your money." But they want to control everything.
Being libertarians, we don't want people in our lives.
Okay, I like that. But
I don't think when people have they call you liberal. I am progressive. I want people to be able to control their lives, make their lives better, and thrive in the city. We're always going to have poor people. We're always, that need help. It's going to be, but we can't make the system work against them to thrive.
Okay, how about this? He's got people in his building selling drugs, doing bad things, and he calls the cops. They don't want to do anything. What do you talk about that?
It's ineffective. They know for a fact they're selling drugs. That's the police. They're ineffective, I guess. They're selling drugs in the neighborhood, and that's illegal at that point. I mean, then that's a huge issue. I mean, that means the police are not doing the job they're supposed to be doing. If they have proof. I mean, but then put it this way. Let's say I think you're selling drugs and you're not selling drugs. Let's just say, and I call the police and then they come break down your door and kill your dog. I mean, how does that feel? That's not good either. You have to have proof that someone's selling drugs. You can't just assume they're selling drugs.
Well, if you observe them, if you see a hand to hand.
Right. So it's up to the police. Maybe the police are doing an investigation because to build a case, as you have to have,
Well, here's another problem. When they do arrest people, my friend was complaining. They have video of them selling drugs in the building. The cops arrest them, and the DA lets them go. How are you going to handle that?
Well, the DA is the district attorney. I am the mayor. I'm not the judge of that case. I don't hear the cases. That's a legal justice system.
Well, but you could have some input. You could say something to them.
Well, why would they didn't have? You have to build a case. The DA needs to build a case, right? This is how legal. I mean, the legal system. I don't have to tell you. The legal system builds a case against the perpetrator. That means their case wasn't strong enough. That was their failure.
They're independent of the mayor, but the mayor can say to, "Hey, come on, guys. It's my city.
Yes, I could say a lot of things, but if they don't have a case, I'm not a czar. No, even the president doesn't have that right. They don't have the right over the Supreme Court either. So that the legal justice system is, I could say, hey, that was a bad decision, but the reality is they didn't build their case strong enough against the person that was doing the bad thing.
Stacey, let's bring on Joe Roach. I'm sure he has a lot of questions for you too. Anthony, put Joe up.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
So I'm having a little bit of internet trouble. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah. I hear you.
So, Stacey, when we were talking pre-show and I heard you were a libertarian, I said, and I'm going to be public about this, I'm not going to lie. I said, if I were in New York City, I would vote for you. I take that back. You appear to me to be a liberal in sheep's clothing. Because everything I heard you say, you support the teachers the teachers have messed up New York City worse than the mayor.
I support education. No, you're reading it wrong, Joe. I support education.
Teachers and the teachers union have messed up. Listen, hold on. You guys have been going for 30 minutes. You got to give me 2 seconds to talk.
Okay.
So then next.
You're misinterpreting me, Joe.
So you can correct me later.
Okay.
But let me speak first. So then you said that libertarians are like live and let live. Don't tell me what to do. I won't tell you what to do. Meanwhile, your whole rant on the homeless issue, I couldn't make heads or tails of. I'm sorry. So I don't get it.
I don't
and then when Vinny made a comment, which Vinny tends to rant a little bit too, and that's fine. But Vinny gave you a what if. He gave you a little what if. Let's say this guy's dealing drugs in the building, and I had no clue what you were talking about. Where like, could you be a little more specific how you feel about that? Because Rudy Giuliani took the streets of New York, and he took all the pot out of the bodegas. He took all the cocaine off the corners of the streets, and everything like was 90% less under Giuliani. Could you do that, or are you going to be a flake? What are you going to do for New York
I
City?
think you should legalize marijuana.
Okay, forget about marijuana. That's a thing of the past.
Okay.
But right now, marijuana is not an issue in New York City. What's an issue is fentanyl, cocaine, and heroin.
Yes, we need to get fentanyl off the street. Heroin off the street.
I mean, you don't. I mean, I need a little backbone. I don't live in New York City.
Okay.
I live upstate a little bit, but you know, if you're gonna have any chance of the mayoral candidacy in New York City, you gotta fight for what's right.
I am fighting what's right. You haven't listened to a word I said. First of all, I didn't say I support the unions and the teachers. That wasn't where I was going. I'm like, it's not the teachers union that's messing things up. It's what is being forced to be taught. So I think they should choose to teach how to teach students as an educator.
How can you say that? How can you say that when the last people that wanted to get to work were the teachers and the teachers union? Everybody wanted the schools open, and the teachers and the teachers union fought it to the last minute.
I said teachers, all teachers, not just New York City teachers. All teachers need to teach without the bureaucracy of the city behind them. To give them the freedom to teach without the mayor's office behind them. You weren't listening to that. I didn't say let the teachers union take over. I never said that. I think people should vote. The community should vote how their schools are run, who runs the schools, and how who is how the teachers run, not the mayor's office. So that you got wrong. First of all. Second of all, you need proof to go to someone.
You need to disempower the teachers unions. If you were to give power to the teachers,
the communities, it's up to the communities to disempower the teachers union because they need to vote on how their schools are run, and the communities will vote instead of the mayor's office just saying go ahead, do what you want. So people are misinterpreting my policy right now.
Well, how would you execute that?
Stacey, we haven't met yet.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm the only New Yorker that's actually here. The rest of these people just come and go.
So everything's being
in New York. I
misinterpreted.
just don't live in New York City.
Listen,
I'm curious though how you would. You said that you wanted to be up to people to vote who is going to be running.
Right now, they're assigned through cronyism. It goes from the mayor's office to the next layer, to the next layer, to the next layer. I want people to vote, take it out of my office and vote in the communities how the schools are run like they are in other parts of the country or other parts of the
yeah, but
state.
the problem with that is New York City doesn't have communities anymore. And it doesn't
that's what we need to form, is communities.
Right. And it doesn't actually come from the mayor's office. It comes from whoever he appoints as
So that's what I want to take away is the appointees, the system of appointee to the appointee, where it goes, you're voting to the next level. It's all voting down. So people are voting who they want to run their schools, how they're run, and in the communities are voting how their specific districts are run. It's not like that now. It's just picking and choosing.
And the reason why it's like
and there are communities. There are communities. There's some there aren't, but there are communities. Where I live, it's a community. Where some parts of the city there is no community. We need to form more community activism in the city.
Well, but
we fail our students that way.
You brought up the comment, or you said the statement about the poor and rezoning because it's. But if we go in that system with education, the way you want to do it, then the only way to pay for this would be from those communities because they'd be in charge. And it's going to be unfairly biased. Don't you think it would be maybe behoove a little more instead of changing that system, but actually saying to these people, okay, you know what? We're in charge of education. Let's make sure that this education is done this way.
Well,
And
that's what I
not
was
leave
saying.
it up.
That's what I was saying. That's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, but you're taking. You know, here's what I'm saying. If you have an area in the South Bronx, their idea of education is going to be a hell of a lot different than the Upper East Side or the Upper West Side. And the people on the Upper East Side or West Side have a hell of a lot more money to pay for what they want than the people in the South Bronx. And by shucking the responsibility of New York City, which is why we created this free school system, and putting it onto the way everyone else does it, which is by taxes in those different areas, then you're really literally saying to the poor and the underprivileged, well, this is what you're stuck with. You deal with it. We're not going to
It
worry
doesn't
about
work like that with New York City. We have each school is budgeted differently. It's not like that. It's not like in the suburbia. And
Right.
also, you can also go to different schools in different communities. You can you have the choice to go to a different school out of your district. I want to take that out as well, where people can switch districts.
Basically, you said
You
something
want to
about
take
rezoning. that the
Particularly in high schools, particularly for high schools.
The zones in New York.
How's that going to help? Wait a minute. Hold on a second. How's that going to
That's
help?
not going to go
Listen,
over well.
each
Because if you're
family-
interested in the arts and you want to go to school downtown, you can. If you're interested in learning to be a plumber and go to a trade
Hold on.
school in
Listen.
Midtown, you can. Or in
Can you give
Brooklyn.
me- can I get 5
Look,
seconds
we can
here,
do
guys?
that now,
Listen,
though.
time
Hold on,
out.
Joe.
Every family should get a voucher for whatever amount of money that it costs for
That's a
send
great
kids to
idea.
public school, and each kid should go where they want to go, where the parents think is the best place for
That's
their
a
kid
great
to go.
idea. I would think
And
of that system as
fig-
well.
right. And then you watch how fast the schools get fixed when some schools are empty
Right.
and some schools are overfilled.
Exactly. It's called the market.
And we need to bring back and emphasize
Well, but-
standardized testing for the kids
But
in school,
high
because
school
without the
already
standardized
do
testing,
that.
the teachers can skate
They
and
don't-
just pass everybody.
No, they don't want.
That doesn't
testing.
have. They have. It's
They want
actually more
everybody to be
standardized
dumb.
now.
They want to dumb the kids down. The kids that are
No,
going.
we need to stop
I've taught
lowering
in
the
schools.
bar
I
for
know
our
how it works.
students.
I've actually been a teacher in schools as a substitute teacher for years and a lecturer. I see what goes on. I've been in the city school system. And there's some great teachers and some really bad teachers. And teachers aren't always teaching. And some teachers need to teach, then some are great. So, and then there's some are bogged down with curriculums that force to teach that aren't really, adhered to. And some kids can't read at age 14. So that, it's not a good system.
So do you think that one of the
I
things
didn't go to that.
is-
When I went to school, I wasn't in that system. I said that it's changed.
Well, how come the United States, especially New York City, has some of the lowest test scores in the whole country, and even compared to other countries in the world? Why are the children in the United States, especially, but we're talking about New York City, why are they so dumb? Why? And I think part of it is a lot of the kids are inner city kids. They don't have fathers. Their mothers work, have 2 jobs. God bless them. And they don't have anybody to look after them.
Well,
help.
first of all, the kids are on the phone. They should bring the phone to the classroom, which is a problem.
Yeah,
It's
they
a
shouldn't
huge
have
problem.
phone.
They have their earbuds in. The better schools, they don't. This is what when I've gone into schools, what I've experienced. Some, they don't have the support at home to help them with, what my mom would help me with stuff when I came home if I didn't understand it. The more wealthy kids could afford tutors. So
Some of the people that were running for mayor, I won't mention names, they said that not only defund the police, take away the school guards that are in the school. They're saying that they're too tough on the children. Now, I don't know how they're too tough on the children. They're there to take, to stop the fights. There's so many fights. You went to school in Brooklyn. I don't know if you had a lot of fights in your school, but some of the schools in Brooklyn are blood buckets. They just have fights all the time. So you need something there secured. Now they're unarmed, but they have some sort of police
Well,
power.
there is and when I've gone into schools, you have to go through metal detectors, which is very unpleasant. It doesn't feel like, you're going to a school. It feels like you're going to a place of detention. I think when you treat people like criminals, they act like criminals. That's what I've learned. I went to a high school that didn't treat us like that. We were treated like adults that wanted to learn. So I think we need to treat the kids also like they're students in a learning atmosphere, and not like
Well, the
criminals.
problem is
We have to start treating people better, and we have to. We need to just find a way to make students feel like they're learning.
if you don't have metal detectors in the school, the kids are gonna bring guns in there. They're
Right.
gonna
I know it's unfortunate. It's
You
an
have- you
unfortunate
have to have
situation.
that.
I know this is what I'm saying. This is how it's changed. I go to schools to teach. I understand what the problems are. I'm in the schools. I see why it's not working. We have teachers that we have the rubber room where teachers go for years, and they either did a crime, and they it's cost the city thousands of dollars a year. So we need to fix that as well.
Okay, you're right. Everybody
I'm
knows
doing this is
what
what I
the
do.
problem
I've done research. I've been in the school system. You can't just call kids dumb because they just don't focus well in school.
Right. So my question is, so what is what would be one of the plans that you would think would be a way to address it? We all know what the problems are. We see them every day. So you're running for mayor. I know you know what the problems are. I'd like to know what you.
Well, I was saying before that.
Without these guys jumping all over you and interrupting. Sorry, let her give her platform. So.
Basically, my point is we need to let teachers that really teach well teach. We need to hold them accountable for their jobs. So if they're not an effective teacher, they're not paying attention, we need to hold them accountable like any other job.
But that's the problem with the union.
How do you plan to wait, can I ask this? How do you plan to hold them accountable? I think that's really important. It's a great plan. I think they should be held accountable, but what?
Well, just like any, being reviewed. Are their teachers? Are the kids, learning? Are they reading at the level they should be? If they aren't, are they getting the help they need? Mm-hmm. I mean, a good teacher when you see it. You know a teacher that's not, paying attention.
We know a good teacher, but I'm asking.
All right, I'll give you an example. Okay, Courtney. When I did sub teaching, I would go into the class. I would get the lesson plan, and I would sit there and go in front of the class and teach and talk to the kids and ask them questions that created a conversation. And I was done. And one of the teachers goes, "Thank you for teaching us today." I'm like, "Our teacher never teaches us." So there are teachers that just literally go into the classroom and hand out papers, and they read it, go and answer the questions.
Again, we know the problem. I'm curious, how are you going to hold the
evaluations and having a system within the communities of saying in the schools, and like this Mr. So and so doesn't, or Mrs. So and so is not effective. Like the parents and the school board
evaluations, and it doesn't go well. What are the consequences? That's what I'm asking.
You have to have a discussion like any other job. This is where you need improvement, and then again you see if they improve, just like any job you or I've had. When
yeah, but there's a big difference
before is the unions. So a lot of people
need to work with the unions to create more effective teachers. Period. And we need to make the unions hold their teachers accountable. Make sure the teachers are teaching. Make sure that they're not slacking off and whatever. I mean, a bad teacher. You might have a bad class that year or a class that's not learning well. Let's address what's going on specifically in the class. What are the dynamics that are creating a teacher that's ineffective? That's what we have to. And then just like any other problem, every problem is going to be different. Some is blatant, some is subtle.
A part of the problem is a lot of teachers don't feel incentivized because because the union just protects them. So it really doesn't matter if they perform or they don't perform. So I think something needs to be changed there. There need to be consequences for their actions. They need to recognize that they're not just going to be protected by the union, even if they're not doing their job.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that. They should not. That's the job. We need to stop the rubber rooms. Pardon?
Other than union busting, how would you address something like that?
You're not busting the union. You're making
You're
them.
not answering. You're not.
Make them
Vinny,
accountable.
You're not running for mayor. I don't want to hear your opinion. I'm asking her. I know what you think.
With evaluations, corrections, evaluate, and then if you don't, it's like any other job. If you're not doing your job, you find the issue. Like if you were working in an office and you weren't producing what you needed to produce, why are you not producing? Is it the structure of the families? Are you not paying attention to your students? Are you not expressing? Usually if a teacher is not doing well, it's because they're not teaching the class. Usually,
And then what happens is,
and they need to have the consequences. It's called consequences. Like any
Stacy,
crime has
Stacy,
consequences.
Stacy,
but
listen,
the
here's the thing.
consequences are, the union says, well, she's got tenure or he's got tenure, so suck it up.
Right, exactly.
Well, we're going to
And
have to
that's
that's
what
the issue.
Stacy, no one has ever, and I'm not talking about New York City, I'm talking about the entire country. No one has ever truly held teachers accountable, which would be
it's a bad
so
time,
simple to do. Think about how easy it would be to do this. You have your standardized testing. Some of the kids are going to fall short. Then we're going to evaluate those children and determine if they need extra help, if they need to be pulled aside, if they need to be put in special education, and let the other kids move on. One way or the other, a child must learn the material that is prescribed by the curriculum. If they can't learn it, we need an explanation why. Nobody is holding the teachers to that level, to that standard, and they bury it all in a fog, which irritates the nuts off of me. I'm sorry, it pisses me off. I'm tired of it. I've seen it too much. I've seen so many kids that graduate high school that can't tie their shoes.
I mean,
Hey,
I'm
Joe,
done with it. I'm done
why
with
don't
it.
you
I'm
run
done
for
with
mayor then?
tenure.
I
I'm
agree.
done
They
with this
can't. I
nonsense.
agree. I've seen it.
And I don't
I'm
see,
not
I don't see
disagreeing with you. I
anybody
didn't say
that has a solution. Why?
Joe,
Why? You want to know
let
why
the
there's no
candidate
solution?
talk.
Because the teachers
They
union
don't
has
even
too
know.
much power.
I used to teach job interviewing skills, okay, to high school students. I said at the end, it's very nice to write a thank you card to the person interviewing you. They looked at me like I had four heads. I'm like, it's called, great, that's what manners are. And they looked at me like, I'm like, and you have to wear a suit or you have to wear a jacket. And it was such a foreign to seniors in high school. And it was shocking. This is a life skill. Job interview is a life skill. It was a very simple lecture I would do on job interviewing skills. And it was so heartbreaking. And that's cultural too. And it doesn't take and there were some students that did know, but just very simple skills saying thank you, please, not looking at your phone during a job interview. I mean, these are seniors. To me, it was appalling. And I blame the teachers for that.
How were they brought up in their house? That's the problem.
No,
Right.
that's etiquette.
It's also cultural in our society. Right. It's not just it's not just their homes. They're,
we've gotten to the point where we don't expect that. So let me ask you this.
We're not expecting professionalism from our students.
Right.
I've noticed that. Unless you're in
what's your stand on the critical race theory?
What? What's
your stand on this critical race teaching?
Well, we were looking at it. It's kind of being it's insane a little bit. I'm going to say it's insane. I don't think it's a way to teach race.
A lot of it, really insane.
And I don't want people to say I'm a race. It's not a way to. There's better ways to have understandings of other races and other cultures. We've been living in the city for many years,
right,
as a melting pot. Yes, we've had our issues. We have crime. We have anti-Semitism, anti-Asian hate. Black and brown crime. I understand that, but we have hate crimes. But that being said, there's a way to teach race relations and other types of differentiations of people other than critical race theory. Period. And that's my. So I'm learning more about it. I'm just, I'm not in school right now, so this is a new program that I'm learning about.
Do you feel that a race theory or any kind of race should be taught in the school when they're still not teaching them how to read, write, or even do a checkbook? Half of the kids can't even read an analog clock, and God forbid they try to do anything else. I mean, don't you think teaching them race is not really a school's responsibility?
I think the responsibility of school is to have open discussions about issues, but particularly in older students. there's nothing wrong with having a discussion. That's how people heal and grow. That's how I learned in my school. We did it differently. No one was we talked about our own experiences and how we felt. That's how you teach race and differences, by talking about your experiences, not pushing another person's theory onto you. That's how I believe it should be taught.
That's great. How about a 5-year-old?
I don't think 5-year-olds at that point. I think just reading. I think 5-year-olds just need to be. They don't know who they are yet. They need to just learn to read and write and play and have fun and make friends with people of different skin colors. That's how you learn race theory. You make friends with people that are black and brown or white or Asian or whatever, or Jewish or Catholic. That's how you create race relations, by just being a 5-year-old and being happy, making friends with people of different religions and nationalities and whatnot.
According to the progressives that are there, 5-year-olds should be allowed to decide what sex they are or what gender they identify as, including what their name is.
That's up to the families and the kids.
Yeah, okay.
Well, family, the kid 5 years old.
So listen.
That's up to the families, their doctors, and that's a very touchy subject. I've had friends that are dealing with that right now. It's a very hard subject, and it's very personal to people. So it's up to the families and their doctors.
Joe chomping on the bit. What do you want to say, Joe?
I wanted to say that if I came up to you right now and I said that I was the reincarnated soul of Napoleon Bonaparte, you would tell me that I need therapy. I probably would be put on medication, and pretty quickly.
You should be put on medication anyway.
Yeah. So if you're a man, you're a man. If you're a woman, you're a woman. If you're gay, you're gay. I don't care. But transgenderism, you're cross-wired. If there's something wrong with your brain and you think you're a woman trapped in a man's body or vice versa, you need psychiatric help. That's not normal. I'm not going to enable that. I'm not going to enable that or justify that. And you know what? What's next? Necrophiliac bestiality? Come on, people. It's
well, we're already at that point.
You're running out of letters in the alphabet. We got L, G, B, T, Q. How many more letters you want?
The worst of it, though, is that
ridiculous.
Schools, they're allowing kids of very young ages to go on puberty blockers. They're not even telling the parents. Kids
That's wrong. That's definitely wrong.
No,
how does somebody justify transgenderism? I want to hear the logical, biological explanation for the justification of transgenderism. How do you justify it? Because they've gone through every psychological evaluation and the doctor agrees that they've been feeling this way since they were a child. That makes it okay. Oh, but I felt this way since I was 5 years old. That's not okay. There's a psychological issue.
Your personal opinion, Joe. That's your
Joe. This is Joe. We're here to hear her views. We know where you stand, sit, and ride. I want to hear.
Right, but hold on a second.
Yeah. Well, that's a personal. I'm not in your body.
That's a damn question.
What are your thoughts, Stephanie?
Yes. Oh, Stefan.
Stacy.
Wait, Stacy. I was right the first time.
My thoughts is that it's your body and it's your choice as an adult. If you feel you're in the wrong body, that's your choice. It's not for me.
Children.
That's up to the parents and what's going on with the doctors. You know, I know there's different situations that call for different issues. I don't, that's a personal choice amongst parents, doctors.
Be taught in schools.
I don't think it should be taught in schools unless, I don't, especially at a young age, maybe in high school when people are fully developed. But
by the way, the suicide rate for transgenders is very high.
I know transgender person. I have people in my family that are transgender.
I'm not for or against. It's a fact.
You could think it's a mentalist or not a mentalist. That's your opinion, but you're not in that person's body.
That's not an opinion. That's a fact. It's almost 99%. It's really high.
Any chance we could stop talking over everybody?
Courtney, what did you say? It was 99%?
Yeah. Have suicidal ideation after.
I didn't know it was 99. I knew it was high. I didn't know it was 99.
Yeah. After
by the way, I used to work we had an individual that transformed to a woman. The American Psychiatric Association said you must have at least 1 year of intense therapy before you have that operation. He did not. He had a couple months. When his thing was cut off in the operation, he woke up. He was screaming, going crazy. He wasn't ready for it. Same thing with children.
That's poor doctor. That's poor medicine. Then that's bad medicine. We have a mental health crisis. We have a mental health crisis, and our medical system is. That's poor doctor. The doctor did not treat that transgender person correctly.
Can we switch gears for a second, because there's more important things.
Back in the days of the DSM, the DSM is now on the 5th iteration. We had DSM 1. We're now at DSM 5. In the early versions of the DSM, it was called gender dysphoria, and it was treated as an identity disorder. So there was extensive therapy for somebody who felt, and this is something everybody should have compassion for. Obviously, any type of identity disorder is a tragic thing, but it should be treated as a mental health issue, not something that should be pushed on, especially children, to be forced to be changed.
I don't know if any, you're asking me
way,
questions. I'm not in people's bodies or their families. Right. So I'm not forcing anyone to change their gender if they don't want to be. I don't know why. I support people's choice to how they want to live their lives.
My question to you,
the government should stay out of it. Actually,
my question for you is concerning children. Because children are very confused, so they often don't really know what they want. They say they want one thing, a week later they want something else. So my question to you is, how do you think the schools should handle when a child says, I want to be called, a girl, Sally says that she wants to be called Zach. How do you think the school should handle that?
Well, the school should handle, the children want to be called Sally. She could be called Sally. If that's the worst thing that the students want to do, you can't. Going against the student's not going to help. And then if she changes it back to Jack next week, then they call it. They're not getting an operation.
You don't think that that's very confusing for all the other kids who are just starting to learn what genders even are, and they're trying.
People could change their name if they want. That's just what. That
it's not a name change though. This is an identity change. There's a
I don't think for kids that age it's that confusing.
The parents, the teachers, you gotta, it's very specific to each case. Not every person is the same, and not every transgender is experiencing the same situation.
We don't have much time, and I would like to switch gears a little bit.
I have a friend whose daughter was they wanted to be a son, and it's a very serious issue, and they have to deal with it, and they're clear on it, and it's a child, and they're clear on it. They've and they never encouraged it. They never were super
Sure, that's an individual within the
family. It's all individual. My point is individual.
I'm asking in the schools though.
In each situation, it needs to be treated as an individual. Everyone should be treated as an individual. It's not one size fits all. It's just one. Every problem, every person is different, and each mental health issue, or each gender dysphoria issue, or each gender issue is very specific. So you have to treat everyone as individuals, not one size fits all. Every parent should say,
I'm not talking about parents.
It's not a one size fits all situation.
I can't believe we're still on this.
By acknowledging the whole transgender.
We only got a minute left. Hold on. We only got a minute left. Okay. Now we can go over a couple of minutes, but right now let's focus on Stacy. You have been a wonderful
now
guest.
1 minute left.
Yeah. Well. No, but we have a very spirited conversation with this lady, and I like it. I like what we're doing. And one of the viewers said it was finally a show without racism. I don't know why. I guess we're racist.
I don't know why. They didn't hear you
I've
earlier.
never said a racist thing on this show ever.
No. Well, what you said, I've said a few things that were a little.
I didn't speak for you. I spoke for me, Vin.
Vinny, I want to ask Stacy a question before we leave, okay? Because I need to know. These guys have done these guys. There's a whole big war on cars, and there's a fight with open streets and taking parking away from people and double charging parking, and now they want to put a congestion tax in the city. Well, thanks. Let me ask it. So how do you feel about, or where do you stand in that area?
Well, I don't believe in congestion tax. First of all, we need people in our city coming into our city. First of all, our city, Manhattan specifically, right now, it is horribly congested traffic wise, but then businesses are empty. There's a weird thing going on in Manhattan specifically. Not so much in the outer boroughs as I find, but in Manhattan, the congestion is horrific. But I don't believe in congestion tax. I think we need to fix our transit system to be effective. We need to add more bus lines as well. We need to put the bikes in different places so they're not taking away spots from cars. I believe that we can reconstruct through really well-set urban planning. We can put the bikes in different places and not taking up the streets. We just went through a pandemic where everything was outside. Now we had all those restaurants on the streets, which is nice. It's fun to have those little box things, but
I like
we like it, right? So we have to figure it out. We have a lot to figure out. We're coming out of a pandemic. We're coming out of businesses being closed, other businesses thriving, restaurants having their outdoor dining on the sidewalk. So, we need to take an urban planner and reconstruct our streets in our city to make them actually more drivable, more bikeable, and more parkable.
Well, one of the reasons we're so congested is because of this war. And what they did was they changed the way the lanes or where cars are and closed off a bunch of streets, especially in Manhattan, and made, there used to be one street went one way, one street went the other way. Now you got to go down 5 streets before you can make a right turn.
Right. We need to fix that. We need to create, we need to reorganize our streets, and we need to sit down with the architect, urban planners, and really see where the congestion is. How do we get rid of the congestion, and where can we add more, parking spaces so people can park, and also add more. Our transit system sucks, so we need to fix our transit system as well. So people don't want to take public transit, so they're driving. That's what's happening after the pandemic.
Right. There's more people driving now because they don't want to go on the trains. But we know, and we have found out, that de Blasio purposely slowed down the trains.
Right. Well, I don't know. I'm not de Blasio. We have a lot of work to do. Let me tell you something. This city has a lot of work to do. We have big issues. We have big issues to deal with. There are businesses closed for blocks in the Greenwich Village. There are dark cities. There are people shooting up on the streets. We have a mental health crisis. We have a homeless crisis. We have a huge crisis right now on our hands, particularly in Manhattan. And we need to get people back to work. And we need to get people back. Businesses opened up. We need tourists coming back. We need the arts and entertainment opened. It's a big job. And
so I have a question for you. I have a question for you in terms of reopening. What does that look like for you? And what are your thoughts?
We are reopened as a city, right?
I know, but there's a lot of talks about, certain regulations on who can come in wearing masks, and some people need to be.
Now it's by choice. I think every business now is like, if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't have to. So that's good. The people are getting vaccinated. A lot of people are going out. We are reopening, but now we don't have enough. The problem is we don't have enough.
On having to be injected in order to.
It's a choice. Businesses make a choice.
Yeah.
Private companies make private choices.
Mm-hmm.
They want to, that's their choice. I don't know. You can't control what private companies do. For the most part,
but
most companies are like, I know there was a show that I was supposed to do that I couldn't do because people weren't vaccinated. They didn't want non-vaccinated audience members. So it's that's their business. They don't want to be responsible.
They can't ask you if you're vaccinated. It's a violation of the HIPAA law.
Yeah, it's a violation. Yeah.
So that's actually
people will say I've been vaccinated.
That's actually kind of a misconstrual, because the HIPAA law is only for third-party agents. So if you were to share your information directly, unfortunately, HIPAA does not have any sanctions on that, any jurisdiction. It's outside the purview of HIPAA.
But they do have.
your doctor cannot go and share your personal medical information with another.
Right, but it does. But forget that. You.
All right, Joe, Ed, one last question, then we have to go. Ed, one last question.
Yeah, I know, but listening to the rantings, I completely lost the question.
Joe, you got one last question.
I had a
Nope,
major
I'm
brain
good. I'm
fart.
done.
Courtney, you
I'm
have one
done.
last question.
I've
I
had
think-
enough.
Yeah.
I have
I-
no last question. I want to thank you, Stacy. You are wonderful. I got to tell you.
Thank you for the tough questions.
No,
You have a lot of work to do. I mean, like,
I warned you that
Benny, let him talk.
questions. Like, look, we're in unprecedented
you handled
times.
yourself very well. You handled yourself very well.
Thank you. We're on unprecedented times. We never had to be vaccinated or not. That we never went through this, except for like in my whole life, we never got locked down, shut down. So we're in really crazy times right now, guys. And
Totally. No,
and so we have to navigate
You're
new
gonna be mayor.
territory.
These are the things that you have to deal with as a mayor.
Exactly. People.
So these are the questions because whatever we ask is going to be easier than what you're going to come up against.
No, you guys are great. You guys asked tough questions.
I remember my question now.
Oh, what is it?
All right. So, yeah, right. We got this new voting system that's supposed to be so all-inclusive, where you can pick one, choose number 2, choose number 3, and it's so secure and blah, yada, yada, yada. Yet we just found out that they might have to do the whole entire thing over.
Yeah, they messed up.
Yeah, they really screwed up.
That's what, right. As a libertarian, that's what government does. It messes shit up. That's all I'm saying.
No shit, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends.
All right, everybody, thank you so much. We had a great show tonight. I mean, Stacy, you're wonderful. Ed, you were okay. Joe, Courtney, you're always wonderful. Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you guys. Thank you.
Sempre noi, always with us. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.